Typically, on Christmas Eve, Christians around the world gather in churches to celebrate the birth of one special child, born over 2,000 years ago to a young woman and her husband in a small town called Bethlehem. We are told that they had made a long journey from the town north of Bethlehem called Nazareth in order to register for a census that required them to do so in their ancestral home. The young woman Mary was very pregnant at the time of this journey. And as they entered Bethlehem, they found that all of the usual places to rent a room were filled. Out of desperation, the couple found shelter in a stable where, among the animals, Mary gave birth to her son. The first visitors were some shepherds who had witnessed angels singing in the sky, urging them to go see this little boy who was destined to change the world. I love Christmas. I love watching sappy, sentimental Hallmark Christmas movies. I love having my heart moved in a way that makes me feel all fuzzy, warm inside. I love attending Christmas candlelight services. And I find that the older I become, the retelling of this story continually fills my heart with exceeding joy, warmth, and goodwill. It never, ever gets old. But this year it is different. We are living in a pandemic of a virus that, if it does not kill you, creates potential lifelong health risks. And with over 318,000 U.S. citizens who have died from the virus this year, we are being urged to not gather as families, of not attending programs in person where groups would be in common spaces. In short, celebrating our traditions of Christmas prior to COVID in that same way could be deadly. Our coming together tonight is altered from gathering physically to gathering through Zoom as we struggle to find our way this year to celebrate the birth of Jesus. In a weird sort of way, we are finding ourselves in similar circumstances as did Joseph and Mary, as they were having to cope with new ways and circumstances for the events of their day. Even more intriguing to me is that this past Monday, the day of winter solstice, the longest night of the year, there was a planetary conjunction that only happens like this particular one every so many thousand years. Due to the COVID pandemic and the past year's social upheavals, for me, this season of Advent has moved out of a mental exercise into a living reality. And in the same way, the Christmas story seems to be more real to me than ever before, complete with what the news media has dubbed the appearance of the Christmas star. So, what makes this one night of the year so special? Why do we alter our whole routine during the month of December around the birth of this one little Jewish boy named Jesus? What continues to drive us to even attempt and alter our traditional ways of gathering in order to share a common bond with Joseph and Mary and the birth of their son, Jesus? In a word, love. Love is what motivates the heart to open, to give, to receive. The Christian community looks to Jesus as the person who embodies God's love for the world. Love is the creative force in the universe. The season of Christmas goes beyond the birth of just one child. This season celebrates the birth of love. This season recreates a birth of love. I believe what brings us all together this evening goes beyond the story of a little boy born in the manger. We are brought together to celebrate the possibilities of the future that comes in the creative force of love. That's new life. In the celebration of Jesus' birth, we are reminded that, like Mary, we have the capacity to birth the presence of God's love, not just once a year, but every day of our lives. When we talk about keeping the Spirit, when we talk about keeping the spirit of Christmas in our hearts all year, what we are truly speaking about is a continuous birthing of God's presence in our world. A world that yearns for the experience of love. And this birthing of God's presence begins with a heart that is open to receiving God's Spirit. Let us this night continue the birthing of love that Mary delivered over 2,000 years ago. Amen.